when you're choosing photographers, do you get sort of trapped into going with the people you know?
Personally, I like to try different photographers and vary it completely.
Yeah.
Even if we've worked together on a number of projects, but it doesn't mean that I'll go to you every single time for every project because it's boring.
Just make a note of that.
Sorry?
I'll just make a note of that.
Yeah, no, but
no, of course not. And I wouldn't expect you to.
No, but
it's
stupid.
It's
Certain photographers have certain strengths, but also it's not to say that a portrait photographer can't come on a landscape shoot with you. Because you're going to get something different then. And it's about placing certain photographers in situations that they react differently, and
interesting. Yeah.
You will get a different response.
Because one of my big bugbears is that you'll get pigeonholed as a photographer.
Yeah.
People will see you as a certain thing from one job that they've commissioned you to do, whatever that is, and they might overlook other things you've done.
Yeah.
Other strengths you have, because you just get pigeonholed very early on, and you're saying you don't do that necessarily.
No. Certain photographers that I worked with, obviously they have their kind of preference, the speciality of the type of work they want to produce: studio, landscape, portrait. But we all need to, we all like to venture outside those areas sometimes, and I think from an art direction point of view, it's refreshing then.
How do you go about then? So you probably got a, you don't think of it like this, I'm sure, but you've got a stable of photographers you use. You might have half a dozen people you know and you use.
Yeah.
How do you go about finding new talent? New people. Do they come to you? Do you go to them? Do you go to shows? Do people show you their portfolios? How does that work?
I mean, it's a combination, really. I think it's a case of Instagram now has opened up photography, not just for photographers but for everyone, and it may not necessarily be a photographer you commission work from. In the traditional sense, it could be it could be a designer.
Yeah.
Whether that's whether that's happy with the purists is another thing, but it's not necessarily about just being a photographer anymore.
No, true.
It's about what you offer, what your work is.
So are you saying that if you saw somebody's Instagram feed and you were really impressed with what they were doing?
Yeah, I wouldn't care whether they were a dentist, a fisherman, or a photographer.
But you like what they're doing. They like their style and approach to what they do.
Yeah, that's the fundamental thing, isn't it? It's about work. It's not about your title or your profession. It's about what you produce.
So what about, you see this work, it's great stuff, it's all shot on an iPhone.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Right.
Is the transition between the phone as the camera, and a piece of kit that creates this, high definition image that not only works for a huge billboard in advertising, but also works on screen as well. I mean, most things are screen based now anyway, even billboards. So sure. That kind of resolution issue, that's not always there now, because resolutions in terms of DPI and so forth has changed from print to screen.
Yeah. Because there's a leap, isn't it? You shoot something on an iPhone, it's all automatic essentially, isn't it?
Yeah.
It does everything for you.
Yeah.
And then when you take a camera to that, even automatic cameras, I've seen automatic cameras produce less pleasing results than iPhones in the sort of snap area,
That's right, yeah.
And so, I can see there's a leap. I just wondered if you'd found it, which you obviously have. Yeah.
I mean, I find it in my own work, really. I've taken stuff on the phone and thinking, that's pretty smart, that's a pretty nice shot, it's got a nice atmosphere to it through the number of filters they offer. And you can kind of gloss an average photo up to be something pretty special through effects. But then try to think, how would I replicate that in digital SLR, and it never ever comes up to the mark. So it's slightly.
Have you tried to do that? Have you shot something on Instagram, put filters on it, thought, that's really lovely, and gone back with the DSLR and shot it?
Yeah, I have, and it never has the same feel, But that's again,
is that because of your
down to my technical ability.
Right, okay,
it's not down to my creative eye.
No, obviously not.
And it's down to the kind of technical side of things. But also, there is ways of through Lightroom that you can come close to what you're shooting. But
you can reproduce anything if you know how to.
And also, it's you're looking at something that's the size of a phone. So everything's compact and crushed.
That's right.
When you open up that in terms of a scale of image, there's no hiding place, and all imperfections and lack of technical knowledge is plain to see.
Yeah, the iPhone pictures, as soon as you bring them up to a certain size, because if you think about it, they're shot on a tiny little sensor, loads of noise going around. You don't see any of that on a tiny screen. You blow them up to a big screen, and like you say, it's.
But going back to what you said earlier, I would still be interested to work with somebody with a creative eye, maybe them working with a technical photographer as well. So
that's good.
Maybe that could come into kind of creative partnership.
If you saw someone young, raw, but with fantastic talent,
I would have no hesitation in working with somebody. It's all down, at the end of the day, it's down to the work and the person you work with that you get on with. I mean, we've worked together on on small shoots, and it's just about working with someone you enjoy working with.
Sure. Your Instagram feed is great. Yeah, is it all iPhone stuff, or do you shoot DSLR?
I do. Yeah, but I mean, it's mainly iPhone for me personally. Just because it's with you all the time, it's the ease of use, and you just capture things. I walked in here today and just photographed, 2 pigs in the back of a lorry being delivered to the butchers. So it's immediate, and but I don't necessarily do it for the kind of pure photography, reference. It's more of reference for me. It's creative reference,
right?
And I look at Instagram in that sense as well. So I'll see a style of work or an approach of work, and I'll show a photographer, say, "Oh, I quite like this feel. Can we do something like that?"
Right, that's sort of the follow-up question I have.
So it's a reference as well as a talent pool.
Yeah, and so does it inform your work? If you're out shooting stuff, you've got your Instagram feed, and you go through it, and you go, I can use that feel.
Yeah.
To either brief someone.
Yeah, and it also helps me from art director's point of view.
Yeah.
That I love it for framing shots. Framing. Whether it's landscape or whether it's portraits, so I can then kind of express that to the photographer.
Will you do that on a shoot for the?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I use the iPhone to frame. I find it great for that. I mean, it can be kind of intrusive with the photographer.
No,
but it's So, but I find it. I mean, I suppose because the end result is predominantly screen based in terms of the image, I think you instantly get a connection with that image on screen.
Yeah.
So then it's easy. It's just easier to visualize.
Well, that thing is becoming a phenomenon. More and more art directors are using the iPhone to do that on a shoot.
Yeah.
So you're busy away shooting something in one corner of something or other, and they'll say, "I've just shot this from over there," and you go, "Okay, right, okay," and it looks great, and you go, "Right, okay." Where do you go from here? Because first of all, the lens on the iPhone is, a particular type of lens, very wide, and and it's just like a bit of clutter. So you do the shot you're on. You say, right, I'll just finish the shot. You do the shot, and then you'll go dutifully around and look at the frame. And I think, from my own personal experience, and I haven't worked with people who are as good a photographers as you have to say, but from my own experience, you get there and you say, right, well, let's shoot it with this big wide lens like you've got on there. And then when they see that, and if you work in tethered, they see it on the computer screen larger, they go, nah, not working, that's it. And I don't, for me, it's never worked. It obviously works for you, but I think you might have a better eye than a lot of art directors, because you do a lot of photography.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of art directors who, they do their own Instagram stuff and they do their own.
I don't profess to be a photographer in any way, but but it doesn't. That doesn't matter anymore.
No, it doesn't. No.
I think the
boundaries have gone.
And it must be frustrating for photographers to have that. It doesn't devalue. I suppose it may be perceived that it devalues your your profession in terms of a photographer, but it really does. I think it opens up creativity.
It does,
and it's. I think it's probably a positive thing for designers, art directors, and hopefully creators in general.
It definitely is. I think it'd be really tempting to sort of turn your back on all of this and go, none of that matters. But it does. Every client I work with, is now a photographer to some extent.
But also from a design point of view, you work with certain clients that half of them feel that they can design as well.
Yes.
So I think it's come down to everything is so accessible now.
It is, yeah.
Through programs, and Apple has really opened up everything in terms of.
Everybody can shoot video on their iPhone. They can shoot whatever. They can edit their own video. Yeah.
Which is a good thing, but I suppose you've got to go through all the rubbish to get to quality, and it's finding that as well.
Yeah, but really. It needn't devalue. It should be pushing the quality up, shouldn't it? It should. People like me who are, the old professional type person.
Yeah.
That's got to push. You've got to keep up with that stuff. I think people's expectations are getting higher and higher. Because the world is much wider now for everybody, isn't it? Because of access to the internet, everybody sees everything. So all standards are getting driven up. It seems to me. It's not so parochial, Whenever somebody comes to the studio now with like a mood board or something, they're choosing really high quality stuff, and this is what they want. Well, that's great, because that pushes, their own expectations are raised, so that pushes you to do, to match or better that. And I think for me, that's a really positive thing. Whereas, if I'm going back some years, people didn't have that access. And people were much more parochial about what they did. They did it like this last year, we'll do it the same this year. And it was just more, it's just a smaller world, than I felt, especially outside of the major cities, So I think all this democratization is a good thing.
Yeah, I agree, yeah.
Do you get projects you think, I'd love to use this guy for this girl for this, but I can't afford to? Does that happen?
Yes, no, for sure. It does, but I think you'll always find someone to work with, on certain, if it's an exciting project. Most photographers are pretty obliging in terms of their rates, and if you haven't got a huge budget and they want to work with you as well, there is a compromise.
Well, that's where the relationship thing comes in, isn't it?
And that goes back to relationships.
We were talking about various sort of corporate guidelines you come along, brand guidelines. And how you feel about working with those, so and how you feel about writing those. So if you have a project for a client to produce a set of brand guidelines, how do you go about specifying the sort of photography element of those guidelines? Are you quite prescriptive, quite open? How do you feel about?
You've got to have some sort of guidelines laid down, but within that you can be creative as you want.
Yeah, because what I'm finding at the moment is that there's some companies whose brand guidelines are so prescriptive that they know the picture before you take it. They tell you what backgrounds they want, what angles to shoot from. They even tell you,
Is that corporate guideline, real high corporate work?
Yeah, I shoot for like John Lewis, for example, and for their website and stuff like that. And they tell you, can fine detail how they want the file saved, and how they want it lit, how everything. They cover everything, and that's fine, I suppose, because it's for their website, and so their website has to fit.
From my point of view, that's a different type of work,
Yeah, it is.
I tend to work in more the kind of arts, creative kind of arena.
Yeah.
Where I think it's about holding down the principles of the brand, but be creative within that. You shouldn't have to be straitjacketed to an idea, personally.
No, but it does happen.
It does, yeah.
Even with creative companies, we've had quite a lot of experience where, you want to do a certain thing, and they say that doesn't really fit our brand guidelines. So, but that actually suits your project. That creating that sort of image would be ideal for this project. For this, is
that usually product shots?
No, I'm talking about working for people in the creative sector.
Yeah, okay.
And I find that sometimes the design, the brand guidelines are very good on the design side.
Yeah.
And not
a kind of afterthought.
A bit of an afterthought, a bit of a bolt-on. yeah.
And also, as well, it's quite strange because although the guidelines come from the kind of creative and the strategy behind the brand, it's very rare do you actually work with a photographer at that stage to create photographic guidelines, which is ironic.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, so that's something that's that I've created a number of guidelines, brand guidelines.
Sure, I know, yeah.
But without having that in mind. So yeah, good point really in terms of having that input at that stage.
Yeah, and do you think that's just because lack of thought, or because lack of budget and time?
Both, actually. I think both thought and budget. I don't think it enters because photographers are always, generally outside of organisations.
Yes.
I don't think it's something that's thought of within.
Yeah.
So it's something that could be worth looking at, really.
So some of your work, you've done stuff for G39 and the CCQ.
Yeah.
How did you approach photography and selection for that? Was that images that were supplied? Did you commission original photography?
CCQ magazine, that was working from my point of view. There was an art direction of the magazine,
right?
And each article was photographed, independently from myself. So right. I was involved in the creation of the magazine.
So when you get those pictures, do you try to impose a look on those pictures? Will you do like your own post-production on them, or do you use them as supplied?
I tend to go with what was supplied. If it's come from a good source, I tend to go with that. I mean, I don't try to interpret photographers' work. I don't think that's right. So I tend to go with what's supplied. If, for instance, it's come from a bad source,
yeah,
and it's the end result's going to look pretty shoddy, then you've got to manipulate it and put some sort of effect on it then to bring it up to some sort of passable standard.
Right.
And that's part of the problem with design in general, is that you get this mix of quality of imagery, from stock through to a client photographing something for you, through to a commission for the project.
Yeah.
So some projects are you get a mix of quality and standard.
And do you think that's more in the arts sort of side?
Generally, I think. No, generally. I think generally that's part. Because you can pick a picture off iStock, like a still life of a bowl of apples, quite simply for clients, but it's far better for it to be shot in a studio with a new perspective.
Yeah.
But it doesn't always happen. So it's everything's driven by budget, isn't it?
And because you're quite strong on photography yourself, do you, even though you say you're not a photographer, I know you've shot something, because I remember we were supposed to work on a project and I couldn't do it last minute, and you ended up having to shoot it yourself.
Yeah.
It looked great, didn't it?
That was luck.
Oh.
Yeah, that was just that was pure luck, to be honest.
But it did look great, didn't it?
It looked pretty good, if I don't mind saying.
No, it looked great. How often does that happen? Or was that one off?
That's a one-off, I'd say.
It's never happened before where you've gone, I could really do this picture of bull apples.
Well, no one has let me down like you did on that one, really. So I know you had a good reason, but it was a short deadline, wasn't it? It had to be shot at that particular night to go out the next day. So I got my camera in my bag and photographed it myself. You know.
I think I art-directed that from afar.
But I did show you the shot, and you said I think you said, "Oh, I'm actually glad I didn't come along." So that was a compliment in my eyes.
No, it was a good shot. It was good. It was it was nothing like I'd have done it or envisaged it. I had.
But it was actually from
but it worked great.
The idea of the shot originally was to shoot it in a park.
Yeah.
At night, it was
and you shot it on a road, the main road,
and I thought this doesn't seem to be working, particularly sort of avoiding the drunks coming from the pubs as well. So as I was walking home, sort of thought this isn't going to work. I placed the item on the ground. This is a big, massive disco ball.
Yeah.
And just photographed it in the middle of the street in Cardiff, and it worked a treat.
You were going to smash it up as well. You didn't.
Yeah, I wasn't going to smash. Oh yeah, but I didn't in the end.
So you've got it in your living room now. You're the
yeah.
But that didn't you feel at the time, apart from feeling
let down?
Yeah, let down. I was going to say that. Didn't you feel at the time? Oh, maybe I should do a bit more of this.
I enjoy it. I love photography.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah,
I really do. But maybe I should.
Well, no, why not? I don't see why not. A lot of designers are doing it. I think what the problem they come up against ultimately is twofold. One is light. That they can never get enough light or proper light, or they just don't know how to do that.
That's the problem for me. Is when I think I've spoken to you about a few things regarding light, because I know that's your strength really in lighting things. But
and it's just that quality thing, where they do the picture, and it's never quite right. The quality's never quite right because they're shooting on, the kit's not quite as good, say, as the kit that I use or we'd use,
right,
So I know it's a fine difference, but it actually does make a difference to the final image, And if you're a decent creative and you want really good quality, then those last couple of percentage points of excellence are important, aren't they? They make a difference.
From a design, I run a small design studio, so some projects, may not have the budgets to get a photographer in to get that piece of work. So I'd probably might try and do it myself. If it works, great. If it doesn't, maybe I should get a photographer in.
Yeah, well, I've done that a few times where somebody's shot it.
I don't like working like that though, personally.
No.
So I would always, being creative is not just about what you do; it's about what you do with other people. That's what makes things exciting. That's what creative is about. Is about relationships.
Well, some of the best people I work with, designer wise, they don't do a hell of a lot themselves. They bring in really good illustrators. They bring in freelance designers to work on things. They bring in all the talents, and their talent is bringing in good talent.
Yeah, that's right.
Spotting people, briefing them really well, and putting all that mix together.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of agencies that do that really well.
And I think because going back in the sort of 90s, 80s before that with huge agencies, that most it's not like that anymore. There's loads of little satellite companies, small.
Yes.
So in that kind of in that token, then everyone likes to work with has to work with other people because they don't all do it under one roof.
Going back to the idea of taking different photographers, building on this thing about photographers pushing themselves and you pushing photographers to do
out of comfort zones.
Out of comfort zones, yeah. And so taking your studio photographer and putting them in a landscape or whatever it is that something that you think should be done more often? Is it something that people should do? And is it something photographers should do to themselves more often, put themselves out of their comfort zone?
I mean, for instance, if you go on to a number of photographers' sites, there tends to be certain categories they try to cover, and they try to cover everything, which is nice to give you a taste of what they do, but it tends to just be, landscape, still life.
The dilemma is, from a photographer's perspective, is that a lot of clients are not like you. A lot of clients are, I need someone who can shoot a room set, and so show me a room set. they wouldn't even. So if I didn't have room sets on my website, they wouldn't even pick up the phone, or I wouldn't have them there. They wouldn't ask me to do it. But of course, I don't want to pigeonhole myself as a particular type of in a particular genre. I don't want to be a room set photographer. I don't want to be a people photographer. I don't want to be a still life photographer. I don't want to be a food photographer. I actually enjoy being a photographer.
That's my point.
And I happily shoot everything.
Yeah.
But the trouble is, if I don't show everything, people don't ask me to do it. I think you are unusual. I know you, so I know the sort of person you are. And you've got a particularly open mind, and you would ask me, to go and shoot something underwater.
Yeah.
Even though I never shot anything underwater, you'd say, yeah, you can do that. Come on, let's go and do it. And I know that you're capable of it, but most people wouldn't. They'd look for someone with experience of shooting underwater. And so your dilemma as a photographer is just show the things you want to show and hope to attract that work, which is
fair enough, I suppose.
That's a way forward. Or do you show everything because actually we only do it and live in, and this week I'm shooting jewellery, next week I'm shooting office furniture.
Yeah.
And so
where do you stop though, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, but it's very difficult to know how to pitch yourself.
Yeah.
Because actually you end up pitching yourself quite at the lowest common denominator, I think.
Yeah, no, that's it, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, just going for me, working with photographers, it's just about working with interesting, creative people.
Yeah.
And they just happen to be, technically gifted with a camera.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's just it's no different from, working with an illustrator with a paintbrush. For me, it's about working creatively.
Yeah. If I was really, really pressed to say, you can only do one thing, I would just say, right, I just want to do people.
Yeah.
I want to do people.
Well, there's certain photographers who like to specialise, but
there are.
I personally are more interested in openness, I suppose, creatively.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Well, you look at if you look back at some of the great photographers in the past, or great photographers now, they can shoot anything. They bring their creative abilities to any sphere.
Yeah.
They got the technical stuff, they got the creative stuff. The rest is just detail. Just changing the subject a bit, going to your own sort of stuff. You have you do a lot of illustrative work as well, and you've had an exhibition, Micro-C.
Yeah.
That is very. I've always thought that was very photographic in its approach. They looked
digital.
Like it was digital, but those illustrations looked like they were
microscopic
photography. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, going to that project Micro-C that I worked on, personal project. That was about again for me was about presenting something that hadn't been seen, or it was something that had come out of my imagination really, and it was about imagining something that then could be digitally constructed by process.
Right. Yeah.
So you kind of creating marks that kind of were inspired by imagination.
So they weren't inspired by anything you'd seen.
No.
Straight out of your head.
Straight out of my head. But then I wanted to create. I wanted the computer to then add to that kind of development.
Yeah.
And then it was using the program to create for me that unique shape or unique piece of work.
So was there some sort of automated process in there?
Yeah, but it wasn't. It was a set process with it that I gave the computer certain things to do, and then it generated this image that was it then.
So that's your personal work, isn't it? So did that personal work affect your commercial work?
Well, it's together, it all works together.
Did you show that personal work to prospective clients?
No, I don't. Interestingly, not really. No, there is a separation to the commercial world and my personal world.
Okay, then as a lead on to that,
of ideas,
should photographers show their personal work to people like you?
I'd be more interested in that, and I think that's something that I'm addressing myself within my commercial practice, is to not necessarily show the work that people want to see, show the work that I want to show.
So basically practicing what you preach for photographers then?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
And so you would encourage young photographers, well, any photographers really, to push that personal work, put it in.
I think you have to have the faith in what you enjoy, and it does take a long time to realise that, because you're driven by what's expected. You are, yeah. And what's commercially expected, because you're earning a living, and that shapes what you offer, and it's not always what you want to do. No, absolutely. But it's a bit of a luxury sometimes, isn't it, to go, I'm just going to show this because this is what I want to do. I go bankrupt in a week. But that's it. And it's down to circumstances, whether you can persevere on that road, and whether you can But it's easy to, it's fairly easy, is it easy? It seems to me easier to do it if you're a young photographer starting out. I think that's the time. If I had to turn back 20 years of my kind of creative career. Only 20, John? Yeah. I would put my feet firmly in the sand in terms of that kind of work, and pin my creative commercial hopes on that, as opposed to being drawn into a commercial kind of agency that wasn't for me really. Yeah, and some of the best creatives come from that background, don't they? They started out doing what they love. They've only done what they love. They've only shown what they love, and they become massively popular because they do everything so well. That whatever they do. Yes. So people have done what you. That's right. I'm just talking from my personal, personal kind of journey of creative. But it's easy to see with hindsight, isn't it? And I imagine you're the same. Yeah. You are. Are you currently creating the work you want to create? No. Okay. Occasionally. Yeah, you do get glimpses of it. You get glimpses of it, yeah. And I suppose you've got to be realistic. It's where your commercial life overlaps with your... That's right. With your personal aims and stuff. And that happens, a couple of times a year. Yeah, if that. And it's great when it happens. Yeah. And, even... And that's when you start... That's when you get excited. That's when you get excited in terms of the possibilities. Look, everything I shoot, I find a personal challenge, So, no matter what I'm shooting... I've always got that challenge in front of me to produce pictures which are as good as I can produce in those circumstances. So I like that. Yeah, but you like that whole outdoors, getting away from it all, fresh air, that's right, sort of thing, don't you? Yeah. So that would tick my boxes. Yeah. so your so your ideal scenario is to get up in the morning, walk on a mountain with the dog, come back home, do some personal work, have some tea, and go to bed. We all love, we all love to be creative, but it's. So does that make it an unrealistic thing? If we all did just what we wanted to do, if we all did it for fun, the perfect world of your life balance and all that. We're going down a different road now. But you know what I mean. There's a certain amount of dross that has to be produced. It's stuff that companies need commercially, and someone's got to do it. If we all clean toilet pans, we wouldn't progress in life, humanity. No, but I'm just saying that if everybody did only the stuff that gave them personal fulfillment, there's a whole void there that stuff that needs done. Realistically, there's stuff that needs doing. It's like shooting for John Lewis's website, right? Well, I'm shooting to it's work that I do for a living. It's great. They're a great client, and I enjoy the work. But on a personal satisfaction, I enjoy the job well done. But you don't get any sort of creative fulfillment from it. But somebody still needs to do that work. No one's going to get creative fulfillment from that work. Yeah, I think so. There's a balance, isn't there? I think from I'm just talking about my personal point of view. Really, is that, do you see yourself as an artist? Is that what you'd say? Or is that what you want to be? Maybe, yeah. Maybe that's what. Yeah, maybe I feel more comfortable in a kind of being creative without criticism. So you're saying what basically clients get in the way? It's a self-indulgent kind of world of creativity that you just produce things that you enjoy, that it's not answerable to anyone. So it's just, and that's what I like about Instagram, going back to that, is that I just, I find it kind of liberating that I can just photograph things at my will. And it's liked by certain people. If it's not, so what? I don't do it for likes. I do it because I do it because I like doing it.
When you get something that gets a lot of likes, is that feedback you take any heed of at all, or
no,
you just
not personally. No, I don't bother with that really. I just do it because I like doing it.
A lot of people use Instagram very consciously as a promotional tool. They use it as a platform to show, to show their wares and stuff like that. Do you do that?
No.
So you're a purist about it. What goes on there is just whatever you decide looks great and you like.
Yeah, on my feed.
On your feed.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, but I also look at I look at all sorts of all my feeds. I kind of give time to not just photographers. So it's going back to that. It's just it's as interesting if an adventure walker is taking shots and
Do you ever compare your feed to anybody else's?
No, no, not at all. There's no, you can't, can you really? What I like to look at is as much as the work is the locations. Looking at where these decent photographers go to photograph.
Yeah.
Looking at the amazing spectacles that, and they they photograph things that places where you want to be.
Do you know Andy Lee's work?
Yeah.
It was beautiful landscapes and seascapes and stuff.
Beautiful work.
Do you think that could be done? I don't know if Andy's done, big prints, big exhibitions.
Andy has, yeah. He's done some huge prints, landscape and some portraits.
Have you seen them?
Yeah.
Because these things physically, in the flesh, they're impressive things.
Oh, they're hugely impressive.
Prints.
Yeah. But
and is that something you'd like to do? Go out with a photographer, art direct. Work with, but whatever.
I think most importantly, not from a commercial point of view.
No, of course not.
Yeah,
no.
It's from a creative point of view.
Yes, yeah.
And that's what being more interesting if photographers were more open to that. From
Have you ever tried approaching someone?
I'm sure they are. Yeah, I'm sure they are.
I think people definitely.
Yeah, but it's not something that's talked about. It's all about commercial relationships. It's not about. It seems to be that way.
And there's wrong? That. I think, in a way, I think people would be open to the idea. I mean, if you came to me tomorrow and said,
it's about photographers coming to designers,
right?
Or creatives. That doesn't happen. Or a photographer coming to an art director and saying, "Oh, I got this idea about some stills or some sort of shots that I want to take.
How can we work together?" Twice.
Sorry?
I have come to you once or twice with ideas.
Maybe you have, but...
No, it does happen.
No, I'm talking generally. Does it happen?
No, generally it doesn't happen, no.
So
it doesn't.
We've
been on... We've tried to get a couple of things which haven't really got off the ground. Some video stuff we were looking at and a few other things, which I'm not sure if I came to you for that, you came to me, but...
Maybe.
I think I probably came to you with the video thing. But... if you did approach photographers, I'm sure they'd be open to it.
Good.
I think the biggest barrier, all photographers come to you, I think everybody would be open to it. The biggest barrier is trying to fit all this stuff in around your commercial activities.
No, that's what I find that really difficult myself, as you know. When you're busy, it's balance. Do you find that you experiment on the job?
I love the things the shoots when you go along and you think, I'm going to do something different. I'm not sure what it's going to be. I'm going to try something, and let's see where it goes, and that's so rewarding.
Yeah, that's it. That's the way to work. That's exciting.
But of course, the problem with that, it is the way to win, and you do get much more reward from it. And I did did 2 jobs towards the end of last year, were exactly like that. The danger is you don't get something that you think is good enough at the end of the day because it is part of an ongoing experiment. Now, generally speaking, if you've got a reasonable amount of experience, and you can always pull it together towards the end, and get what you need in the can. But there is a danger you don't get what the client's paying for, and so that's an inhibiting factor, isn't it? And I think that's an inhibiting factor in a lot of commercial work.
Yeah. That's what's nice for me, is to work outside those constraints.
Precisely. Yeah.
To work,
so you're just pleasing yourself.
So you can just if you don't achieve it. Doesn't matter. And
the difficulty there in that side is having the imperative to do that.
Yeah.
Because, normally your imperative is provided by the client saying, I need this by Thursday.
Yeah.
And, you've got to do that, haven't you? Whereas your own work's really easy to put on the back burner and never get round to it.
And that's what's nice, about working, working with Instagram, is that you can do it without any constraints.
Do you do any other sort of social media stuff? You don't do Facebook or?
I tend not to. No, not really. No, I'm not too keen on all that.
No, but Instagram is the thing that you do.
Yeah, but again, it's as you said, perfectly as you said, a sketchbook.
Yeah. When you're commissioned to produce a bit of work, and then you have to commission a photographer, do clients ask for ownership of the images? Do they expect ownership of the images?
Yes, they do. I mean, clients do tend to want full outright ownership of shots.
Full outright ownership?
Yeah, because I think it just, it gives them, there's so many platforms now for output in terms of work. They don't want to be restricted by any kind of copyright stipulation. Are they prepared
to pay for that? Or do they think that's part of the
I think they think it's a kind of given.
Right.
Whether that's the clients that I work with, I don't know.
So they expect that picture, that image, whatever, or set of images, belong to them outright. They have copyright over them. They have.
Well, I think it's just about them having the freedom of usage. I think that however you want to.
Do photographers ever say, here's a license? You can use these images.
No. Do you do that?
No, I used to.
Yeah, I think that's slightly been diluted. That restriction.
But the law changed in the late 80s, so the copyright lay with the creator, i.e. in this case the photographer, rather than with the commissioner, the client. So every picture I take, theoretically, is my copyright.
Right.
It doesn't matter if you've paid me for it or not. I own the copyright. And the only way you can give that away really is by
buying it.
Is by somebody buying it off you.
Yeah.
I don't think clients are aware of that.
No, I don't think designers are either, to be honest.
No, why would you be really?
And I think you do a photo shoot, you commission a photographer, and you, from a design point of view, you just hope that image is, ready, available for everything.
Yeah, and I think that's the basis we work on. Just on the back of that, do you think photography is highly valued by clients, designers, or do you think it's seen as just a commodity?
I personally value it hugely,
Yeah.
And I value that relationship and process with a photographer. I think it not only adds to adds to the work, adds to the image. It also adds to your work in life. It's about working with people.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
It's not just about the the piece, the actual physical piece of work. It's about working with people. That's what the industry should be about, really.
Collaboration.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Problem I find is that that everyone, and including myself, I've got this idea of what I want to achieve, but can't achieve it through lack of cost. There's half a day's work to do a shoot when it should be three days, half a day's experimenting, half a day's trying things out, and then photographing, and then going through. It's a process rather than just turning up, clicking the shot, and then going away feeling sort of. What was all, kind
slightly
of
undercooked.
Slightly undercooked. What was all that about?
Yeah.
So I think the clients value it in general, but don't understand the process. That I think if they understood the process more, I think again it's about communication. Educating clients to say yes, we want to achieve this sort of photograph, but we can't achieve it on the day. We need to trial it. We need to do a couple of test shots. We need a budget for that.
The best pictures I do commercially are for design companies generally, advertising agencies, whatever, who are the best at educating their clients and of being quite firm with the clients. They say, well, if you want this done, it's going to take a week. and the client said, well, I've only got a budget for 2 days, and they say, well, you can't have that then.
Yeah.
You know, this is going to take a week to do it properly.
That's it.
And not to do it properly.
That's the way I work as well. I mean, you know, you've got to...
Yeah, I know that.
You've got to, you know, you have got to educate the clients, but I'm quite fortunate that the clients that I work with are of that kind.
Yeah,
they understand,
true, yeah.
You know, and I think maybe that's because a lot of them are in the arts and they appreciate art in its process.
Yes.
And understand that it's not going to happen just by a click of a button. It's got to, you know, you've got to respect that, you know, those creative ideas and the creative process to achieve something that, you know, is interesting, I suppose.
Yeah, most commercial clients are not like that, are they? That's you know, that sort of the arts is a slightly different case, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think most clients...
The only thing about the arts is that they understand it, but they can't afford it.
No. Ironically, yes. They'd pay the money if only they had it. Yeah.
There's also a battle from a designer's point of view with stock photography and, you know, commissioning of photographers. You know, there's, you know, a client will say, well, can we just get that on stock?
Yeah.
And you can. It's fine, and the quality of the shots there, everything, but it's not always the shot you want, you know.
So the photographers that you deal with generally, do you think we're sort of dinosaurs and we're on our way out, or do you think there'll always be a
no? I don't think so. No,
small market there.
No, I think it's growing. I think it's.
Do you?
I think it's because the kind of turnaround of imagery and is great as ever been.
Right. Yeah.
You know, so I think it's growing, and will continue to grow really.
Because of the more channels out there, social media,
and you know, a shot that would have survived 6 months on a campaign probably lasts 6 days now, at the most.
Because of the exposure.
The turnaround. Everyone wants something new today, tomorrow, the next minute. So the survival rate of imagery, in terms of its, you know, campaign led, is you know, is smaller.
You know, yeah, no, I can see that. I mean, I've seen it recently with a client who was still using pictures from.
And sometimes it's so quick you don't actually see it being exposed yourself.
Right.
Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
You
sure.
know,
it's old news before
it's gone. It's gone.
Yeah.
So, I think people want creative things and unusual things to make impact. You don't always want to see your iStock shot on someone else's company as well. You know, you want it to be ownership of. So it's about ownership.
Yes, yeah, and uniqueness.
And I would like to think that clients, you know, understand that, and designers, that, you know, it'd be nice to photograph a pineapple rather than get iStock.
Yeah.
Which is equally fine, but it's different. It's not unique.
Because, you know, as photographers, I think we all feel under threat from clients taking their own pictures, designers taking their own pictures, stock. And then one thing I'm doing a bit of at the moment is 3D rendering. You know, I'm kind of up against that at the moment, where the 3D renders are getting so photorealistic that it's often easier for product companies to produce a render because they've got the renders anyway in the design of the through the design of the product. It's easy for them to use those as final images, you know. I mean, next 2 weeks I'm doing a shoot where I'm shooting products, and they'll then all be incorporated into renders as backgrounds. So that, you know, we feel under pressure from that as well, because that's another bit that's going to take some of our market away. At the moment, if you're a product photographer, like I do a lot of product photography, then there are always new products, and so there are always new things to shoot. A lot of design companies are setting up their own little photographic corner, if you like, because they either haven't got the budget, or the clients haven't got the budget, whatever. So they're setting up a little sort of still life table, doing their own stuff, and they do it really, really, really badly. But they see the need for, you know, they think.
But it's a good idea.
It is a good idea.
But it's executed wrong in the wrong way.
It is,
and
absolutely.
I think if the design studios partnershiped with photographers,
absolutely,
you know, that's the way to go, because at the end of the day, it's all about creativity. You know, and photography is just a medium of that. But
it's on the same. If you remember back a while ago when you know, Macs became sort of ubiquitous, you know, in design studios, clients then thought, well, actually, if we get a Mac, and these programs, we can cut out the designers for, our little newsletters and stuff, save ourselves loads of money. And he was so demeaning to designers, in terms of, we'll just use our marketing assistant to do that, who's not trained at all, not creative in any, serious sense. And loads of people, big agency, big companies bought Macs, spent a lot of money on software, gave somebody like a 2-day Quark Express course and expected them to be able to, and I think what's happening in the design studios is quite similar. They're buying some lights. Everybody's got some sort of Canon 5 something or other. Yeah. And hey presto, you've got a photographer in the studio. Yeah. It's just a little bit like, that's not the way to do it, is it?
No, but I think, again, it's down to the studio, isn't it? Because the good studios recognise
exactly,
photographers in terms of the skills they offer.
So you and I were ahead of the curve then. So about 2 years ago, we did discuss doing all of this, didn't we? About getting together and setting something up that was an ideas generating sort of unit. But it was the victim of our own success in a way. You get really busy, and
it doesn't happen.
It was a thing that doesn't happen. Yeah. Stepping back into traditional print and the tangible, touchy-feely sort of stuff, which I know you like.
Yeah.
Do you see some sort of future for that in terms of self-publishing, collaborations, and so on and so forth? How do you view that?
I think the what certainly happened in design is the value of print has gone up in terms of the quality of material that you spec really for a job.
Yeah.
But they're limited projects now. Most things are required digitally, but there is like offshoots or special things that they're becoming the little special things now, the print pieces.
So you're saying
the kind of tactile, kind of as you said, touchy-feely kind of pieces that are strike a kind of chord in a different way to online.
So you were talking earlier on about you'd love to do a project with shooting landscapes with a photographer and producing big prints for exhibitions, something like that.
Yeah.
Would you see that being sort of some sort of self-funded sort of thing, or funded by a commercial organisation? Or
I think it'd be nice to get companies to sponsor creativity outside the commercial world. I think that's interesting, and that happens in the arts.
And then would you self-publish would you, in your ideal world,
would
you self-publish a magazine or a book on that?
Yeah, I mean, from my point of view, I love print, so I would always look to see something in its physical sense, as opposed to not just on screen. You know? I think the majority of my commercial work is on screen, so it's nice to go back to.
It's so transient, the on-screen thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Do you remember? There's not, and this is like you said earlier on, might be the grey hair talking, but there's something nice about a physical thing, and I'm wondering whether there's going to be a reaction where people are going to go back to, well, actually, we want this. Remember people used to produce like coffee table publications, even if it's a much smaller scale, a much more modest sort of thing, but something that's got a greater lifespan than something online which is here today and sort of gone tomorrow, replaced by the next new thing.
Yeah, I'd like to think that's the case, but I don't know if it will be, because I think people are having kind of acquiring less stuff in their lives.
Yeah, true.
And I think the digital environment holds our life, and from our banks, from our bank statements through to all kind of literature and material and books. I mean, will bookshelves go and things like that. So I think I'd like to feel that physical environment's will be there. I think it's becoming less and less. But although I like it.
But maybe it's down to people like us then who like that, because I much prefer seeing my pictures printed.
Yeah.
Interestingly, I don't print my pictures myself. I don't have a printer that prints out things I put on the wall. But I do like seeing my stuff in print. It's just more.
Yeah.
It just has more value. It's just more worth for some reason. And I wonder if it's down to people like you and I to go, oh, hang on. Yes, all my stuff's online and whatever, but maybe
I think it's about reach. I think the reason digital will always be so strong is because of its reach,
massive reach, yeah.
And print is just there for the small runs that, for me anyway, personally, with the design, quite small runs to add to what's happening online. And support that for the people like us who like the physical things. To connect with their brand, and I think that's there now. I don't think it'll be there in the future.
Oh, you don't think it'll be there in the future? You think that's going to go?
I just think everything will be.
But
digital.
Is it down to you, people like United, to make sure that does stay there? Because we have a love for it. Should we go out of our way?
I think it's determined. I just think it's determined by in terms of organic, the organics of man.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, progress and stuff. Yeah,
progress.
But if if you have a love for this print and I have a love for this print, and we and we decide to commission ourselves to produce something, say, and we go out and we do your pictures on landscape, whatever we do, we produce something lovely and we exhibit it, and we produce a short run sort of little magazine, book, or whatever it is about what we've done, and clients see that. Now, that's actually going back to what you said earlier on. Do what you love and do it well, and that will spark commercial opportunities because people will see it. Yeah. And I wonder if it's down to us at this point to go, whoa, slow down on the digital thing because that's running off fine. That doesn't need anybody's help. But maybe the print side needs people to sort of step back and go, let's rediscover this, because actually there's a commercial value in it as well. Apart from being,
I think for me, the physical thing in the piece of work is more about the physical thing in meeting people as well.
Yeah,
it's about drawing people together. Yeah, because you send work to people online. Some of you have never even met.
Yeah.
But having that piece as a physical item, it kind of exposes more of a contact.
Yeah,
with people.
Yeah.
We're so behind our screens these days.
Yeah, you could sit at home behind your computer.
And you can work forever and
5 days a week, can you?
Not see anyone
absolutely.
Forever. But that's what's nice about creative. Going back to relationships, don't ever kind of forget that it's about people. And that's where it starts.
Yep. So having discussed that, is that something you'd like to do? Would you do it? Would you say, right, I am going to do that?
Yeah, I think it's something this year that now I feel settled in this kind of in this kind of environment.
New environment, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's an opportunity to create interesting pieces of work.
But are you going to create the time in your life for it? We've also discussed the problem. Yeah. We've also discussed the thing that we work led. We all need to earn a living, pay a mortgage, blah blah blah. So you tend to, get driven by your clients, don't you?
Yeah, I think
but driven by
anything,
clients.
You've got to make a time, and
that's the point. Yeah, that's the point.
I will. Yeah, I will. Honestly,
I'm going to hold you to it. If you had your time again, and what would your 22-year-old? What would your advice be to your 22-year-old self?
I don't think I've made any. There's no regrets through the last 20 years of work. I think it's all been good,
Yeah.
And it's been a mix of things, which is what I've always wanted to do with design, art, photography, illustration. I'm all of those things, and but I would probably like to have collaborated more with people, and I think that's what's going to happen now. Is work don't work just within yourself. Be more open. That's the thing I've kind of learned.
Is that going to be difficult for you physically from
No, I think it's better now than it's ever been. I think it's more. Everything's more open.
Even though you're further away from people.
Yeah,
physically.
you're not further away from anywhere now.
No, I know, but I'm just.
So I think that's the key. I think when I first started, living and coming from a small town in Wales, I felt that I was kind of restricted by my own environment, where I feel that everything's more open now. And more accessible, so I think it's all good going forward. Although I suppose I went down more an artistic kind of traditional art studio route, and not necessarily the commercial world of design. But that's just a brave move at the start of your career when you It
is, yeah.
I didn't have that luxury to be able to do that.
Sure, yeah.
It's all about it was about doing something you enjoy and earning a good wage.
Yeah, because you wanted to move on in life and.
Yeah, that's it.
just fed up with being a skint student.
Yeah, for sure.
And so, talking of skint students, would you do you think that it's still a requirement for kids leaving school to go and get their degree in a creative field, or do you think, we were talking earlier about, the world's your university and you can learn a lot of things online and whatever. So
I just think it's however you feel comfortable in yourself, really. Whether you want to do an online course and work from your house, or or go and meet people, in university and experience life, life outside your 21-inch screen. I think that's the key. Is about people meeting people, not being so isolated, and everyone's becoming more and more isolated. So it's in terms of the physical, but not isolated in terms of the digital. So it's for me personally, I'd recommend going to university and having a good time.
Yeah, there's that, and there's also there's nothing like meeting someone face to face to get inspired and influenced.
And I think with the universities, what they do bring to the table that you would not necessarily is the opportunity to meet interesting people from industry, from from all kind of areas of your course,
and generally broadening your horizons.
Yeah, exactly.
And the students that do you come across many students these days, sort of graduates? I mean. And people out of design courses, photography courses, and what's your general thoughts on those?
Some of the students I've come across from that they have great technical ability in terms of design, using the programs so forth, but they don't seem to have the kind of ideas driven kind of side of things. So that's just from my personal experience. But there's some really interesting crop of students coming out of London at the moment as well. So it's a mix, really.
Yeah, because I mean my experience has been slightly different in that technically people are okay, in the software side, screen-based things. They're okay, Photoshop and stuff like that. But with the rest of the technical side is woeful. The ability with lights and cameras and all the rest of the tools of my trade. Yeah,
and I would say it's the opposite with design.
Right.
It's they do seem to have the technical ability.
Sure.
Which is great.
Yeah.
Because that's something that I don't want to be teaching them how to use Photoshop
and
so forth.
No.
I want to be working with them and collaborating on a kind of creative basis.
Yeah.
That they're just tools to me. They're just the way of getting the ideas out.
Yeah.
So that's not the important for me. So that's something that the universities should be doing. As and they are. I think that's what they're doing. They're homing their skills up on the kind of technical aspects in terms of design, but maybe not necessarily the ideas.
Right. Thank you.